Welcome to my studio. This is where I write and I draw and illustrate children's picture books. My name's Julia Patton, and this is my latest picture book. And I'm here today to talk to you about my book and read it to you, as the Hexham Book Festival have asked me to share this with you. There are lots of other story space books that are being read by authors and illustrators, so go and check them out. There's lots for you to see. This book has been published by Templar Publishing, and my art director Genevieve and my editor Katie are huge inspirations. Thank you very, very much. So if you're ready and feeling settled, come over and join me and let's read the book together. Number 7, Evergreen Street. Penelope Petersham lived in a flat high in number 7 Evergreen Street. Her name might have been Penelope, but everyone called her P because she was tiny. She loved wearing green. Look, there's her green outfit. Number 7 was an old grey building. And Evergreen Street was an old grey street. P had never seen anything growing there. But inside number 7, it wasn't grey at all. P had lived there ever since she was a baby, and she and her mum and dad knew all the residents. In flat number 1 lived Tanika-san, who was an origamist. Now that's a very big long word for somebody who likes to make beautiful things out of paper. In flat number 2 lives Professor MacLeod, who's an inventor. And she loves to look at the stars with her beautiful big telescope. In flat number 3 lives Madame Oiseau Bleu, which means bluebird in French. And she's a bird watcher, and she also takes care of all these beautiful little birds. In flat number 4 lives Mr. Libro. Now he's a librarian. Can you see all his books here? And a little night light at night time to read his books. In flat number 5 lives Mr. Trehan, who is a very clever chap who grows all the vegetables and fruits and herbs for Mr. Babu Shah, a chef who lives in flat number 6. And finally, right at the top, in their boathouse, in flat number 7, is P, Mum and Dad. Over many years, number 7 Evergreen Street had been slowly adapted by the people inside, who used their building to communicate in a very special way. On a typical day, Tanika-san sent a paper bird note to Professor MacLeod. Professor MacLeod read it and had an idea for a new invention. She told Madame Oiseau Bleu her idea. Madame shouted the idea to Mr. Libro over a very noisy toucan. And he, Mr. Libro, found some books at the processor and lent books to Mr. Trehan too. Mr. Trehan gave herbs to Babu Shah. And Babu Shah made delicious samosas, which he delivered to P and her parents. How lucky. P's friends made every day together exciting. Look at all the things that they share with each other. One rainy morning, P spotted something on Evergreen Street that wasn't grey at all. It was yellow. And the yellow things multiplied overnight. In the morning, an army of yellow workers covered the entire ground like buzzy bees. Evergreen Street was even visited by the mayor, who made it very clear he had big plans. "I have big plans," said the mayor. He's not doing much work, is he? As more machines and workers arrived, P asked lots of questions. Why are they here? They're here to build some new flats. Why do we need more flats? Asked P. So more families can have a home of their own, just like you. And she had more questions as she and her parents watched the workers swarm over the building site. Who sent them? Maybe the mayor. He's got big plans. Each day the new buildings grew bigger and bigger and bigger until finally they were finished and new people arrived in moving trucks. P had even more questions then. Who are they? Can we meet them? Maybe, P, maybe. Then just when the residents of number 7 Evergreen Street thought that their street couldn't change any more, a very important letter was delivered. Inside was the saddest news imaginable. The workers were going to tear down number 7 in 3 months' time, and every single one of them would have to leave. This time P had more questions than she'd ever had before. What do we do now? Will we still live with our friends? Where will we go? But her parents didn't seem to know the answers. That evening, P's friend, Mr. Trehan, brought her a gift, a tiny oak tree. He explained, like her, one day it would grow much, much bigger. I hope your new home has a garden to plant it in. Thank you, said P. P stared at this tiny little oak tree and imagined it big and tall and green, and then something really amazing happened. Oh! P, the smallest person in number 7 Evergreen Street, had the biggest idea. P whispered her big idea to Mr. Trehan. Look, there's her plan right there. Who passed it on to Babu Shah. And Babu Shah was listening very carefully. And he called Mr. Libro immediately. Mr. Libro shouted loudly to Madame Oiseau Bleu over a very noisy toucan. Madame Oiseau Bleu told Professor MacLeod, who was terribly impressed, and shared the idea with Tanika-san, who wrote all the finer details on a paperbird note. That night, when the lights went out on Evergreen Street, everyone gathered outside the building with spades, hammers, old bits of wood and everything else they needed. In the morning, there was a tall fence all around number Evergreen Street. When the mayor saw it, he just laughed. You think your flimsy fence can stop my big bulldozers? In 3 months, this awful old building will come tumbling down. As the weeks went on, the new residents of Evergreen Street sometimes stopped to look up at the fence. No one thought it would stop the bulldozers or the mayor. Rather strange noises were heard coming from behind it, but no one could guess what was really going on. You see, the mayor wasn't the only one with big plans. Look how busy everybody is. Everybody's helping hands. Boxes and plants and leaves and seeds and trees and tools. Busy, 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 busy. What's going on? Exactly 3 months later, the Yellow Army returned, bringing huge diggers, tall cranes, and a very angry mayor. I demand you take this fence down at once, he said. Okay, said P. And so they did. Wow. Number 7 Evergreen Street was unrecognisable. Behind the fence, hidden from the eyes of the world, P and her family and friends had changed their home completely. It was now surrounded by the most beautiful garden. Oh dear, the mayor doesn't look very pleased, does he? Hello, Mr. Pussycat. Oh, hello, Miss Pussycat. P and all her friends excitedly explained what they'd been busy doing. And as for the mayor, his big demolition plans were finally over when he was handed a petition signed by every single person who lived on the street. The mayor announced one last big plan. I have a big plan. He said that number 7 should stay just as it was so that families and friendships could blossom in the new garden. Everyone agreed this was the best plan he'd ever had. Look, P's planting her little oak tree just in the ground, just where she was staying. P still lives in a flat in number 7 Evergreen Street, but it's not a grey building anymore, and it's no longer a grey street. Now it is bursting with Penelope Petersham's favourite colour, green. The end. Bye-bye. Now, just before you go, I've got something rather exciting to show you. This is my very big sketchbook filled with lots of words and pictures, and I want to share with you the inside, the very first new picture that I ever drew of number Evergreen Street. This was the very first sketch of what the building was going to look like, filled with all the busy people. And this was a drawing I did of a pea pod, which inspired me with Petersham Nurseries, my favourite place to go and visit, to create the character called P. And this was a drawing I did of all the gadgets that were going to be on the outside of the building. Fast forward and all of these drawings later, and you have a finished book. So thank you for coming to visit me in my studio today. It's been lovely to read to you, and remember, go and check out all the other stories because there's lots of them waiting for you. Stay safe, and I will see you sometime soon. Bye-bye.